At the Mirman Palace, the dumb human who was apparently the emperor lays on his wife's lap and reminisces about how his ancestors had hated the kingdom of Inertia. They could never acknowledge a kingdom founded by a commoner who woke up one morning and declared himself king. He thanks his wife for the help the Holy Kingdom was offering, but begins to question his decision to trade his own subjects as slaves. He reckons that they'll understand if they are told that their sacrifice was for the betterment of the kingdom. They were traitors who rebelled against him after all. His devious wife agrees with him and smiles in response. Pina is sure that Raminia is behind all this. She admits her brother won't win the Best Emperor in the World Award, but he wasn't this evil. The prince is confused as to why the emperor would blatantly listen to the words of a woman from another country. Pina then confesses that her brother was stupidly in love with his wife, and went as far as building a ridiculously expensive church for her, even driving his own sister out of her home. The prince hadn't known this. The prince reckons that the emperor was truly foolish to go this far, even after buying ridiculously expensive holy water to save their pride. If things keep going the way they are, the empire will definitely become dependent on the Holy Kingdom, and will inevitably fall. He then asks Pina why she's telling him all this. It's not like he's indebted to help them or anything. She should have known this. This was obviously another mental test from our boy. She then argues that this matter is also related to him on some level. Her spirit had warned her about the same test when she met her at her brother's wedding. After piecing the events that were happening, she discovered that there was a connection between the Holy Kingdom and the pandemic, which means they both have a common enemy. But this isn't enough to convince the prince. She goes further to say that if she regains her position as the princess, she'd go as far as selling the empire, or at least something similar, because it would be far better than the situation they were currently in. The prince is still waiting for more, so she hesitantly blurts out that she might even go as far as becoming his property. The prince has no idea what the hell she's talking about. After the brief pause, the prince, now understanding what she meant, devilishly requests that she start her payment now, if that's something she can do. Pina begins to panic but accepts. She'd do anything for her nation, but our playboy is only joking and insists that she stop making him laugh. He had already planned to help her from the beginning. A flustered, angry, and embarrassed princess starts throwing whatever she can at him. He had just wanted to test her resolve and readiness to follow his instructions. He then reveals that the reason he taught her spiritual arts was to get back at the Holy Kingdom's doctrine. It is time they drive out that dumb saintess. It isn't even about politics anymore. The prince is just mad that she dares to mess with him, especially now that he's so busy. He then tells her that in return for his help, she'd have to promise to do business with him in the future. In the end, all our boy wants is money. All this power struggle can go to hell, for he couldn't care less. Pina now regrets putting all her strength into this proposal, but he thought she'd be happy. He suggests that maybe she really wants to be his property, and she refuses so hard. Meanwhile, Saintess Nelvinia steps into the orphanage in the Holy Kingdom. The children there rush to greet her. One falls and hurts himself, so she picks him up, heals him, and kindly tells him to be careful next time. You'd hardly believe she's directly responsible for the death of so many innocent people with the way she's handling these children. The sister in charge then rushes in and deeply appreciates her. The truth is, if not for her, the whole orphanage wouldn't be standing by now. The decision to start assisting orphanages was fully implemented after she had gotten into power. The sister is truly grateful to the orphanage's savior. If only she knew. Back in her carriage, she discusses with her aide, the assassin sister, who tells her that there's a limit to how much they can do for the orphanage. Due to droughts and invasions from other tribes, the number of orphans had increased that year. That is why she hated other races and fought so hard to eradicate them in other nations. She reckons she'll have to try and convince the greedy high priests, who only care about themselves, so that they can continue to sustain the orphanage for a few more years. In this kingdom, where there's little farming and basically no resources, clinging to faith like a moth drawn to a flame is all they can do. To survive, she sold holy water and medicine made with her abilities at high prices, and blessed rich people in exchange for expensive donations. There is no way the kingdom can stand without her, for she's invaluable. She reckons she needs to do something quickly. With the mines of the Inertian kingdom, and the fresh farms of the Mirman Empire, they'd never have to worry about weapons or food again. It might be evil to take what belongs to others, but she has no choice. Their god never helped humans. Even if in the future people find out what she did and blame her, she wouldn't care, as long as she gets what she wants. The prince reckons that she couldn't be serious. In a bid to protect her own, she is really willing to eliminate external forces instead of protecting the inside. He swears to break her no matter what it takes. As a carriage approaches, it is stopped by some bandits. They are aura users and want the usual, his stuff. The poor owner had already begun to accept his fate when two cloaked figures show up to his rescue. Pina uses her flame spirit to stop them in their tracks. She tries to threaten them but forgets the words and needs Dia to remind her. The bandit leader then admits to letting his guard down, swearing to slice the lizard that attacked him. Unfortunately, he has no idea that was just one of the 100 lizards she brought to the family. She then orders them to repent and delivers divine judgment. The bandit leader tries to cut the flames with his aura sword, except his aura sword isn't there anymore. It has been completely melted by the flames. Oh. And that was just one lizard. Imagine the damage she dealt when she used like 10. Soon the surrounding area begins to smell like roasted beef. After it's all over, the owner of the carriage turns to thank the people who had helped him, but they are nowhere to be found. Pina is exhausted after dealing with so many bandits. Fighting them is no problem, but reciting those lines the prince had given her is the hard part. She could die from the sheer embarrassment. The prince had ordered her to go around changing the perception of spiritualists, since the Holy Kingdom had tarnished their reputation with heresy. Due to the fact that some third parties were hurt during battles between the Holy Kingdom and spiritualists, they blamed it all on spiritualists and supported the Holy Kingdom, thereby fueling the heresy. They needed to show people that spiritual arts were harmless, just as how she used it to help heal those people at the infested village. But this time, they take a different approach, using it to save people by catching bandits and doing other good deeds. Dia encourages her, saying she's doing well, as she's also gaining practical experience from all this. She relates to her on a deeper level, as she too had to fight bandits to gain money that helped her make it to Fahilha. Pina is just glad that she can use her talent, which she had hidden for so long, to actually help people. Dia suggests that they go a few more rounds, but our princess desperately needs a break. After some days, rumors about the girls and their deeds start spreading like wildfire. From catching bandits to fixing bridges, everyone has a different thing to say about them. The one thing that is common is that they always said something about spirits as they did good deeds. This leads to people talking about spirits, and their view on them starts to change little by little. Dia is worried that this won't be enough to completely change the perspective of spiritual arts in the minds of the people. The prince isn't completely sure about the outcome, but what he is sure of is that people don't forget things easily, even if it's the slightest evil or the most righteous deeds. Someone always remembers it. Since they had finished laying the groundwork, it is time for the next step. Meanwhile, at the Mirman Empire, the Saintess graces the emperor with her presence, and they get right to business. She is to sign a contract, sealing the deal of the slaves being sold. As she sits to sign it, she thinks about how foolish the emperor was, and rightly so, as her kingdom would soon be loaded due to his stupidity. Just as her pen is about to make contact with the paper, there is an interruption. There is an urgent matter from the emperor, and there's a message for the Saintess from her spy in the Arnesian kingdom that sends shivers down her spine. The princess of the Mirman Empire has just revealed to the entire kingdom of Arnesia that she's a spiritualist. Just sometime before that, Pina is very nervous. But she can't quit now that she has come this far. The prince assures her that he'd have her back no matter what, and with that, she steps up to make an official announcement to the people of the Arnesian kingdom. After introducing herself, she tells her story and the reason she chose to say it here, and not in her empire. She stills her shaking hand and summons her spirits in front of an amazed crowd. The people start murmuring among themselves about the good deeds that had been done by spirits, including healing the village that had been infected by the plague, catching bandits, fixing the bridge, and so on. She goes on to tell them that she has had the ability to communicate with spirits since she was very young. Her mother had taught her to hide her talents to protect her, due to the fact that her empire and the Holy Kingdom were on good terms. She was scared of what might happen to her daughter if she was discovered. Eventually, her brother, the current prince, found out, which led to him confining her and her mother. This made her mother very ill, and she was forced to hide her powers, considering them a curse. She was sent here to study abroad, and eventually, she met Prince Arel, the third prince, who taught her about her powers' origins and true use. The prince wonders when he did all that but lets her finish. The princess goes on to say that she realized that she had lived her whole life miserably because of the doctrine and heresy the Holy Kingdom emphasized. She preached that magic and spiritual arts were the same. She then states her claim that this foolish heresy that the Holy Kingdom emphasized must be withdrawn. After the princess has stated her claim, her audience starts to doubt the Holy Kingdom's actions. The prince reckons that since it's been a while since the spiritualists were persecuted, the whole idea had died within the kingdom, as no one who strongly believes is still alive. Thanks to this, public opinion would flow to Pina's side, and the Holy Kingdom as well as the Empire would be blamed. As he walks to her stand by her side, he promises himself to support her no matter what. He then declares to the public that he and his family have decided to protect her. He had studied the spiritual arts, and as a human and a scholar, he couldn't allow an innocent girl with harmless abilities to go on being persecuted by the Holy Kingdom. He asks them about their experiences, and people begin to confirm that the spiritualist princess had been nothing but good to them. Spiritual arts, just like magic, could be used for good as well as evil. On that note, he declares that he would question the kingdom personally for their actions. and anyone who wanted to object should come to him personally. He also asks all spiritualists who had secretly been in hiding to come to him for help. After the public announcement, public opinion drastically changes towards the Holy Kingdom and their claims. Although nobles are still uncertain, the prince feels it's time to wrap things up. Back at the emperor's palace, the emperor orders that word be sent to the Arnesian kingdom immediately. Meanwhile, the dumb high priests are enraged as they find out that the empire's royal family had a spiritualist behind their backs, and demand all pacts be broken, which is the last thing the saintess wants. She also orders a letter to be sent to the Arnesian kingdom, but before any of the letters can be sent, one arrives from the kingdom. It seems our genius protagonist wants to have a little chit-chat. When Arel receives the letters, it is exactly what he expected. It seems they also want to talk, so he, alongside Pina, takes a trip to the Mirman Empire. While our boy is busy enjoying the artwork and scenery, Pina is terrified of what might happen next. Our MC then tells her that she is the MC of the day, and she shouldn't be scared, as he has her back. As long as she doesn't make any mistakes, they'll be fine. To cheer her up, he gives her a gift. It's a red ribbon, but obviously not an ordinary ribbon. She already knows it's a summoning medium for a spirit king. He then offers to put it on and braids her hair in the process. Our playboy of a prince knows a thing or two about women from his past lives, of course. After this, she relaxes, and they go to meet their hosts, the Empire and the princess. The Emperor goes straight to the point, asking Arel why he taught his sister spirit arts, but our boy casually argues that he did nothing but bring out the princess's talent. He yells, asking the prince if he knew what spirits are. Before he answers that, the prince casually deviates his attention to the senseless without losing his composure like a certain foolish emperor. He tells her that her god was referring to evildoers who happen to use spiritual arts, and not the arts itself. He goes further to explain that spirits were just mana in the air with a conscience. So, calling them evil would be the same as calling living things evil. Nelvenia tells him that he's going too far, but he doesn't stop, and tells them to consider reassessing their doctrine. One of the dumb priests loses it and yells that the proof of the spirit's evil is the fact that the saintess's holy magic can eradicate even a spirit king. Bingo! He has been waiting for the opportunity. For a live demonstration, he invites the princess to join him, and Nelvenia doesn't want to believe that a spirit king who hasn't been summoned in 100 years was about to be summoned. Pina then carefully calls upon the great spirit king of flames, and he appears, somehow looking more majestic than before. They couldn't believe that the spirit king was actually real, let alone the princess being able to summon him. Red asks why he was summoned, and his summoner tells him about the doctrine that claims they are evil beings. He is vexed at their foolishness. Spirits are beings that exist in nature, infused with mana. They are no different from the earth or the sea. The prince also happily adds that the saintess thinks she could take him on. He tells her to go ahead, but she refuses. She admits that they might have been a little mistaken, to the dismay of her priests. The prince then asks her if she admitted to the maltreatment of other spiritualists, as about 250 people had gained courage from his speech and come to him seeking aid. They too, along with the princess, should be compensated. The priests are shocked that the priestess isn't doing anything. Oh, and as for the icing on the cake, our MC shows proof that someone had deliberately caused the pandemic from a record sphere he had just developed. Someone who could easily teleport anywhere and do anything. Saintess Nelvenia, the record sphere, which had been installed to catch thieves, had caught her red-handed spreading the epidemic. The prince could have comforted her about it, but decided to expose her instead in front of her own people and other countries. He apologizes for taking action without asking for a formal investigation, but he had to expose her before she made any deals. The saintess tries to deny it, using the long-lasting friendship between the Holy Kingdom and the Mirman Empire, and the fact that the Empire needed their help as leverage. But then the princess steps in. She believes that their financial problems could be solved if they put their hands together and do business with the Arnesian Kingdom. She then shows her brother her plan, which is sure to put them back on the right track. He tries to protest, but she argues even more strongly that selling her slaves is not the way. Prince Arel reckons that the Emperor could not be that desperate for quick cash, and the Fire Spirit King notices something in Princess Pina as she is trying to convince her brother. Nelvenia then stops her halfway, saying that the Emperor had already made his decision. Our pro then notices that she is using hypnosis on him, and blocks it with his own magic. He believes that neither of them should interfere with what is going on, so calm down, lady. The Emperor, now free from the hypnosis, decides to have a talk with his subjects on the matter and shuts down the protesting saintess. Speaking of which, our protagonist isn't even done yet, as he uses this chance to accuse her of not being a real saintess. The priests are dumbfounded and start suspecting her immediately, as if they were on hold all this time. Meanwhile, Nelvenia tries to use hypnosis on the Emperor again. But this time Red, the Fire Spirit King, blocks it, as he can't keep tolerating her nonsense. Backed into a corner, Nilvenia decides to show her true colors and attack, and Arel tells Pina to get ready to attack. Meanwhile, the priests interpret this whole thing as a miracle. Then again, they are dumb. The dumb priests are basking in the glory of their saintess's power. Well, until that same power begins to engulf them. The guards who try to call for help are also affected. They're not dead though, so Prince Arel immediately deduces that she can attack the mental realm with her power, which was how she got her current position. Pina enlists Red's help, and he complies. He attacks Nilvenia and begins to overwhelm her, and Pina adds the power of her other spirits as well. But Nilvenia casts a spell that attacks her directly and mentally. It attacks her in the form of her dead mother, who scolded her and cursed her ability. She refuses to believe that it is real, as her mother had always tried to defend her till the end. This distracts her though, and weakens her connection with her spirit, giving Nilvenia the opening she needed to get Red and envelop him. Once everyone had been knocked out, she finally relieves the spell, wondering how long she could last after using a critically burdensome spell. Even if she dies, she must fix her kingdom. She then commands everyone who was now under her spell to forget everything that transpired that day. Also, that Princess Pina and Prince Arel were killed by rogue spirits on their way here, and that the treaty between the Empire and the Holy Kingdom concluded smoothly. After laying her commands, she goes over to MC to kill him. But before that, she decides to extract all his skills. She is grateful to him for handing her his skills on a silver platter. As she accesses his memory, she is overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information from all his lives. Our prince then peacefully wakes up, bored and disappointed. He is now thankful to her for providing a space where no one would bother them. She is shocked and terrified because she didn't know that our protagonist was actually a pro with over 100 lives. There was no way Nilvenia, who was actually living her second life, could beat him. A master of the reincarnation game. Now he decides to return the favor and view her memories instead. You know what that means? Time for a flashback. A few hundred years ago, a girl named Ramila was born in the Zelnian Holy Kingdom. She always prayed every night to their god to help them, but never got any word. 2 years later, she was selected as the next saint. She reckoned that there were so many greedy people in her kingdom. Priests who used faith to extort money, and a holy emperor who was blinded by faith. She swore to take a different path and not devote herself to them. When you become a saintess, you gain a new power that is used only for the sake of the church, and it varies from person to person. But Ramila was different. She returned the ill-gotten money and suppressed the holy emperor with her new power. Many were saved by her hands, but that wasn't enough. Even with the temporary stability, the root of the problem wasn't solved yet. Refugees from the war were flooding the kingdom. She knew she had to cut them off. Humanity couldn't be saved by compassion alone. There were limits to what she could do, and her target was the Holy Kingdom alone. So, she sold holy water and made deals on the surface while branding countries that crossed her as heretics and destroying them. She didn't mind being called a devil as long as the Holy Kingdom was safe. She continued like this until she grew old. As she aged, her power grew weaker, and soon she couldn't keep tabs on the priests, and as a result, they fell back into their corrupt ways. There was no worthy successor to take her place. On her deathbed, she wished desperately that she had more time, another chance, just one more life, and she got it. She was reborn into this era as Nilvenia. After Ramila died, the next saintess was incompetent, and soon the kingdom was in crisis again. When she arrived, she got rid of the emperor with a disease and drove away other races to expand their territory. Since she had done it once, it wasn't hard for her until our Reincarnation pro came along. The prince argues that all he did was sell paper and make some money, but she had her whole kingdom try to kill him. But he hadn't just made some money. Bro was filthy rich enough to save her orphans from starvation. She asks him if he has never acted for only himself and those he loved, and he admits that he has, but had never gone as far as killing other innocent people. A saintess devoid of compassion was nothing but a devil. She admits that she can't possibly win against him, and promises to take full responsibility for everything she has done, begging Arel not to be angry, as she did it all for the children. But the prince scolds her, saying that just because she had lived 2 lives doesn't give her the right to decide which lives have more worth. But she still begged him to promise not to hold this against the Holy Kingdom and to punish her instead. The prince assures her that he'd be doing the bare minimum and that the rest was karma. Before she goes, she decides that leaving those corrupt, dumb priests would cause harm to both her kingdom and Prince Arel, so she kills them. After that, she meets the prince to accept her fate. The princess wakes up with a jolt. She remembers that she had to stop the saintess, but to her surprise, everyone is smiling and cheering because the battles are over. The story is that Princess Pina defeated the evil witch with her spirit, the fire spirit master. She then confirms that she gave the final blow, and that is how the 3 countries resolved the conflict. The imperial people changed their minds because the last thing they saw before they fell unconscious was Princess Pina fighting the saintess. who had attacked them first. And with the removal of the hypnosis, the emperor came back to his senses and apologized to his sister. Their prejudice against spiritualists disappeared too. As for the Holy Kingdom, the prince threatened, or let's say negotiated with them, since their leader had disappeared. They even made an official apology to the princess and other spiritualists. When the news reached the public, the evil plans of the former saintess were revealed. The Holy Kingdom then drove her out, and the country slowly began to heal. As for Pena and the prince, since there was technically no need for them to remain in the kingdom of Inertia, she had to say goodbye. She is grateful to him for keeping his promise, and he assures her that he always keeps his promises. Before she leaves, she feels something. Something for the third prince and our Reincarnation Pro. Trade between the Mirman Kingdom and the Kingdom of Inertia went smoothly. Princess Pina contacted the prince and asked him about cacao beans and selling chocolate in their kingdom as a luxury item, but the prince argued that the production means were low, as cacao beans were rare. Pina insisted that was why the boat was modified, but in truth, the boat was for his cola needs and nothing else. The spiritualists from her kingdom also wanted to follow him, as they found out that he was the one who taught her. She scrambled to explain that she was only role-playing back at the battle with the saintess, but the prince urged her to quietly take on the role of the perfect model for new spiritualists. He told her to send them to him and proceeded to hang up. But before he did, she promised to repay him for all he had done. He wondered how she was going to do that. Oh, and as for the Holy Kingdom Zelnia, they started to decline after the loss of their saintess. They could only survive on the condition that they abolish their old laws of hating other races. The kingdom was renamed the Zelnian Kingdom. After this, a rumor spread that anyone who went against Prince Arel would suffer greatly while his friends enjoyed. RMC really doesn't think he is that scary. Time skip to 2 years later. Our boy, or rather man, now 20 years old, enjoys life over a bottle of cola. In the 2 years after the incident with the Zelnian Kingdom, his boat had returned successfully with cola nuts. After various crossbreeding and experiments, they were finally able to plant the cola tree, and after working so hard at the manufacturing process, he finally made cola. This brought a new wave of wealth for him and his kingdom. He wonders if he should ask the empire for some cola nuts. He had finally gotten the sweet, peaceful life he wanted, and even though there were the occasional troubles here and there, his forces handled it with ease. Nothing could disturb his peace now. His mom had come again. Even when he fought the saintess, he only considered her a nuisance, not really a threat. But his mom, on the other hand, is terrifying. He tries to explain that he's been busy, but his mom won't hear it. He was already 20 and she needed in-laws. He then picks up his baby sister and tries to use her to defend himself. Leah had come in last year and is now the 4th princess of the Inertian Kingdom. Once he heard the news, he truly respected his parents for going strong even at their age. He had checked, and his sister is a normal girl. But in return, her brother is the wealthiest in the world. So maybe she'll have an even more comfortable wife than he ever will. The maid then collects the child from him and insists that he stop using her to make excuses. His mom understands that he's busy, but he can't keep refusing marriage proposals. He then argues that his big sister Kania had not married yet. His mom replies that her own mom was handling it as a serious matter. The prince then promises to consider it, but in his mind, he's thinking of ditching this one like usual. After he leaves, the maid senses his true intentions and tells his mom. His mom was worried before because he was a lesser prince, but now he's powerful, so she must intervene. The maid worries that her mistress Livania was back to her old self again. When she was still a maid, Livania was an odd lady, which was how she fell in love with the former king. After having the prince, she started restraining herself, but her weirdness would slip out any time she was anxious. The truth is that Lavinia, the prince's mom, had gotten a letter a while ago from a particular someone, and she feels like this time her son would get married finally. At the chocolate shop, the prince wonders how he has held out this long. Not only his mom but other nobles are interested in his marriage. Depending on whom he marries, the status of his kingdom in other countries could be shaken, so he pretended to be careful on purpose. But now the pressure was getting way too much. He blurts out that marriage is a serious pain, and the shop owner who got married just last month hears him. Just then, hands hold him from behind as he is about to leave and go play. It's Asha, Sena and Dia, and they somehow found him. They had come to drag him to the palace. The prince notes how they were strangely motivated. He had thought he was safe, but they bribed the shop owner, and she gladly snitched on him. They drag him to the teleportation circle, at the request of his mother, for a meeting much against his wishes. Our prince is being kidnapped. His guards beg him to accept his fate, but he doesn't understand why he has to be tied up in order to attend a blind date, not necessarily a crippled date. He's picked a struggle already. Earlier on, his mom had contacted them behind his back, asking for help with his upcoming marriage meeting. She knows that her son was planning to run away again, like usual, and the trio, knowing who the prince was, totally agreed with her. She pleaded with them to try to restrain him, as the prince was a slippery snake who could make himself scarce if he wanted to. They promised to try their best, but Asha is worried that forcing the marriage never works. Lavinia was quite confident this time, as his proposed partner, Pina, was quite motivated as well. Pina had sneaked into the city without the trio knowing, because she had wanted to surprise Prince Arel. If everything goes well, she is to become the new Mrs. Inertia. Lavinia reckoned that it is common for members of royal families with lower chances of succession to get married. Pina asked if they were not happy, but they were. In fact, they had been secretly putting bets and cheering them on back when she still lived there. Pina was determined to see this through, and they agreed to help her. And that is how it all happened. Soon our boy is being pushed to his doom like an inmate on a death sentence. He is reunited with Pina, who looks and talks fancy about the weather. The prince notes that she came prepared for him today. He had never thought she'd be the one to initiate this kind of meeting. He inquires about her actions, but she just starts talking about the weather again. The prince notices that she's pushing herself to pretend, and wonders if it's because people are watching them. She suddenly bursts out with a request to take a ride on a boat in the lake. Her determination is fierce. Pina had heard that nobles normally had meetings on the boat, but the prince quickly changes her opinion on that when he tells her that a couple had fallen over in the lake, and that's how the tradition started. That's the reason behind the new magic-powered boat they now rode on. After the cringiest silence, Pina complains that he didn't notice a green light even when it was shoved right in his face. The prince is glad that she has come back to her normal self, but Pina is mad that he didn't even notice that she dressed up for him. The maids, who had no idea what they were saying, adore them from a distance. Pina rants on, saying that she had persuaded, the nobles just to come here. But the prince is sure he just heard her say, threaten. She admits that she had learned a lot from him, and the prince is worried about his sin of teaching her so many not-so-good things. She tells him not to worry, because even her brother doesn't dare go against her now. He asks whether his mother approves of this meeting, and she replies that her mom was overjoyed and even thanked her. Guess all the karma from running away from all those dates had finally caught up to him. Pina knows the reason why he can't find a partner is because he can't find someone who can match his crazy. But she's had experience living with him and would accept his true nature. The prince still thinks that she'd regret it, but she argues that, in order to avoid marriage being an obstacle for him, it'd be best to do it with her. The prince feels like he's negotiating a business proposal. She promises not to get in his way or into useless politics, thereby preventing him any headaches. Plus, they are the same age, so that checks out. Our MC then begins to seriously consider it. He had been putting off marriage, and she had a hard time proposing because of her situation, but she really believes that they were meant for each other. And then they have a moment, right there and then. She admits she had her own reasons for this. Marrying him meant goodbye to constant nagging from her people, but in truth, she is confident in her ability to understand him no matter what he does. Then again, she had still loved him even after he had teased and tortured her back in the day, but he was also the only one who tried to help her without any prejudice toward her spirits. She then leans really close, like breathing distance, and asks her savior what his opinion about her is. She is prepared to give him some time. After everything that had happened, it was the only thing she could do. But she should have known that our protagonist really doesn't like to wait. This time he leans towards her and Pina is flustered. He had made his decision, and this is the perfect place to announce it. He then calls her full name, and that sets her heart on a marathon. He fully accepts her proposal, all smiles and rainbows. Now they could finish the kiss that was obviously trying to happen. She had started it, so she'd better finish it. His guards and maids who have been watching all this while are flustered. After that special event they continue with their date, and it goes successfully. His mom is happy and proud of him. She apologizes for forcing other girls on him when he already had a crush on Princess Pina. But he tries to correct her that it wasn't like that then. She doesn't budge but is just happy that her son has finally found someone. He'd have to let this one go for Pina's sake because, from now on, they'd be spending their lives together. After several months have passed, his cola business is going so well that soon he'd be able to provide residents with free drinks. But that's not all. He had also completed the second part of his city, a resort. Now after you visit the city and enjoy its wonders, you can sit back and relax at the resort. His dream paradise had finally been completed. Datta asks whether he has planned on throwing a big opening party like he did before. But he doesn't think so. The last time the banquet was meant to spread word about his city, but he didn't need to do so now because the rumors were spreading on their own. And plus, he is preparing for another event, his wedding, that his mom and Pina desperately want. So holding two events in succession could diminish the excitement. He decides to just invite a small group of people and hang out a little, just a break, since he's going to get busy soon with the wedding. At the Mirman Empire, Pina just received a letter from her fiancé and immediately starts delusionally assuming it's about marriage. People had already started bugging her, and she had to make up excuses, The letter is actually an invite to a resort he had finished building. He also sent one to his parents, his big brother the king, and his big sister Kania and her knights. On the day of the banquet, he welcomes everyone and then makes an opening toast. After that, the party begins properly. He and his dad do some bonding time at the steam room, where they take a steam bath. His dad is glad he had passed the throne. If not, he wouldn't have been able to come here. The prince thinks that his brother, who couldn't make it because of his kingly duties, would cry if he heard him say that. His dad decides to be visiting here often, and Prince Arel agrees. Princess Kania joins them and greets her brother. Arel notices that her knights are enjoying the specially made massage chairs he had invented. They didn't just massage, but they also press vital acupressure points that circulate energy throughout the body. Kania is worried that her knights were too tired from following her instructions, but the prince reminds her that not many people could keep up with her. He tells her to go get some food, and she takes off immediately. The prince wonders if she'd ever grow up, but is glad that she's happy. After that, he goes to the mixed and clothed bath, where he goes for a dip and starts to relax, until Pena joins him. She's mad because everyone is asking about them, and she always has to make excuses. She enters the bath and immediately calms down. The prince has always wanted to create a place where people could come and relax like this. Soon she resumes her nagging about their wedding. The prince assures her that he has everything planned out and then offers to massage her shoulders to relieve stress. She interprets it as him trying to dodge the topic. But once he starts, she calms down again. Meanwhile, his mom and guard are right outside the door, eavesdropping. His mom wishes she were a knight so that she could see through, and starts to consider it. But Sena strongly opposes it. They had no idea the prince could totally hear everything they were saying from the inside. Everyone was so noisy. After all that, everyone is totally relaxed and their skin has improved. The prince calls their attention to make an announcement. He then pulls Pina to his side and announces his upcoming marriage to his fiancée. Pina is surprised and flustered. Everyone congratulates them, and they really look like the couple of the year. It seems like a happy ending is near at hand. The wedding is the talk of the entire country and beyond. The third prince of the Enersian kingdom is getting married to the first princess of the Mirman Empire. The prince walks into a cave, which is lonely and quiet. Perfect conditions for him to work on something special for his lady. He remembers when he was born, he had made a jewel then too, back at the concubine palace. He never cared about this kind of embarrassing stuff, but this time is different. He finishes the jewel, and it looks like something that would cost a ton. Back in his room, a maid comes in to remind him to get ready, and notices the jewel necklace he has made from all jewels. It was a gift for his wife-to-be, and he hoped it would be enough to express his sincerity. He tells her to give it to Pina. The maids help him dress up, and while they are applying makeup, the maid makes fun of how he hated these things when he was younger. He asks after his bride, and they inform him that she is getting ready, so he has to be patient. He reckons that it would take much more time to put on a dress. The maids commend him for his bravery, and the prince, who is obviously shaking with nerves, is flattered. The venue of the wedding is magnificent and grand, just as people would expect from the third prince. Someone from the guest list says that marrying a princess from another country was definitely better than a noble from this country. Soon their presence is announced, and the couple begins their procession down the aisle. The guests are astonished at how beautiful they look. Her necklace looks so beautiful on her too. The priest then begins the vows, and it's just as beautiful as you'd imagine. His mom is starting to tear up and his dad looks so proud. His big sister is so happy for him, and his guards are there too. Once the priest finishes, Pena swears immediately. Just then, our pro begins to reminisce. Let's take a stroll down memory lane for that split second. There lived a fool who had the ability to retain his memories after he died. At first he was confused, but soon got excited and started using his power. Having memories from his last life was a privilege. He could do anything he wanted, and people supported him. He started having delusions of being some kind of god, like the fool he was. The truth is that only the world, life, name, and outer appearance would change. But inside, he kept living an endless life. Eventually, he finally got fed up. He saw no use in saving a world if he was just going to leave it for another. Or gaining riches just to leave it behind and move on to the next life. Or loving someone just to watch them leave or leave them behind. The gift he had, called a privilege, became a curse, and he couldn't find any meaning. Soon, instead of saving something, destroying it increased. He'd become a threat to the world on a whim. After wasting so many years, he finally realized that he was nothing special. Just a human who had lived a long life. He only got bored because he gave up. The value of life doesn't wither, no matter how long you've lived. He swears, and the priest pronounces them husband and wife. He kisses his newly wedded bride and they hopefully go on to live happily ever after. Scholars will forever remember the period he lived in as the most turbulent time since the beginning of history. If not for him, the kingdom of Enersia would have been destroyed by the army of the undead or the Holy Kingdom. His industries will become the foundation of human history, and he will gain the nickname, the never-ending spring. There will be some argument about whether he truly did all he did, just to have fun. His legacy would be continued by his children, starting from his eldest daughter, Arna Inertia. In any case, an undoubted fact will remain standing for generations to come. The birth of the third prince of the Inertian kingdom, Prince Arel Inertia, had a great influence on the founding of the great kingdom of Inertia.